SMAnutrition.ie proudly sponsors Temple Street Children's Hospital.
Located in the heart of Dublin's North Inner City, one place has provided acute paediatric care for almost 140 years. A home from home which offers safety at times of uncertainty. This building tells a story of hope, determination and strength. And tonight, we go behind its doors to share the stories from the theatres and wards, to meet the staff who dedicate their lives to the care of Ireland's children, and to follow the journey of families and their little patients who are in need of vital and life-saving treatment. Welcome to Temple Street Children's Hospital.
You showing off your wristlet?
When Anthony was first born, Anthony was emergency section at 31 weeks. Apparently he had stopped growing, so they couldn't get a heartbeat, so they had to get him out quick. At that stage, he just told us it was a little boy because he didn't think he'd make it. He was very small to grow in the beginning. Looks a bit different. It's just down to it's a condition called Hallermann-Streiff syndrome. But Anthony, we were very lucky. It just affected airway and facial.
Well, Anthony, as you know, is a very complex young man, and he's got a number of very difficult issues that need to be dealt with. And when he initially presented to me, and when I was asked to see him, the main issue was that he couldn't breathe properly. The reason for that it is quite complex. It's to do with his lungs, it's to do with his brain function, but also to do with the size of the airway. In other words, how big his mouth can open and the back of the throat.
When he was 6 months, I suppose he still looked like a fairly new baby. He looked like 2 or 3 months. Walked at 16 months, he was tiny, looked like a baby of 8 or 9 months. And he's been in and out of here now from the time he just went 2.
Look.
They had to put a trachea in so they could try and bring down his chin so they could improve his airway.
If you look at the chin point, you can see that it's very far back compared to the teeth, the top teeth there. In this case, what we did was we put a little cut in the bone here and then put a little machine like this here. And over a period of time, this instrument is turned and it expands and it grows the bone. This turning is done by the mother and it's turned twice a day until we reach whatever length of jawbone we want. And in this case, you can now see where the chin point has come forward very far, and if you compare the top and bottom teeth. So this opens the airway at the back.
After intensive surgery, Anthony has been in hospital for a number of months. Mum waits for news to see if the medical team can remove the tube, allowing Anthony to go home.
They don't know how long it's going to be left there. I'm hoping now it'll come out in a couple of months. Anthony's airway is very narrow and it can block off at any stage for an infection. If he has a cough, he could stop breathing at any time because his airway, he can't handle it. He'll go blue. As you can see there now, he's on an EBS now at the moment. That'll keep the trachea from blocking any secretions there, that'll break them up. And he's on the nippy, it's a ventilator attached to the trachea. He's on that at night time, as soon as he goes to sleep until in the morning. He was on it 24 hours, but they're weaning him at that now because he had a pneumonia again there a few weeks ago. He's very vulnerable at the moment, infection control want him isolated just for his own protection. I have 2 other children as well. I have Leanne, she's 20, and I have Sandrina, but Sandrina's living with my sister now at the moment. And doing chopping and changing, we had to change her school as well. But she's doing okay, but she needs her mummy. They've kind of grown up together. There's only 20 months between the 2 of them. And she's very good with him, very good. And she's very young too, but she kind of understands what's going on at the moment, and she knows we will be home soon. She's been very good through all this now.
Meanwhile, over in the day ward, Nadine and her parents have travelled from Donegal for surgery.
Nadine is a one-year-old child who, like all children in the country, they would have been checked for hip position and hip development.
Nadine has a condition known as hip dysplasia, and today will be heading to theatre to have her cast changed.
It's commonly what people know as a clicky hip. A child like that always has to be followed up. If left undiagnosed, a child will be left with a limp. So the initial treatment is assessment, a harness and physio, and then if that doesn't work completely, then they go into what we call a spica cast. And the spica cast is the one that you'll see her in today.
She has been in spica cast since the 4th of October, and hopefully it'll be on just for another 6 weeks. It was on both hips, but it's working out okay. She's had surgery twice, so hopefully she won't need any more.
When they use casting, they use 3 sets of casting generally, with a 6-week gap in between, because you've got growth to allow for the children as well. And your hope is that just that casting will correct the hip and allow it to develop properly.
She just sits in a beanbag and plays, and very nosy. She likes to see everything that's going on. It's very frustrating for her, but I think she'll be okay once she's used to it now, so she'll be good once she gets out and gets walking.
The first time they come in, we put their hip back in if it'll comfortably sit into the socket. Because they're growing rapidly, they have a cast put on the first time, but they can grow too big for the cast. And because they're going to be in their cast about 18 weeks, we bring them back every 6 weeks, take off the cast, wash the baby, check that the hip is behaving properly and that it has stayed in the socket.
Today is an important day also for Nadine and her parents. Hopefully, they will find out if the cast is working and helping to realign her hip. If not, she may face another lengthy stay in hospital.
But the last time, this cast was only meant to be on for 16 weeks, or 18 weeks. But the Christmas, it was on for 12 weeks, and she came back with no cast, and we didn't know what happened. But the cast wasn't working the last time, so she had to go into traction for 10 days, which is very frustrating for her. So her legs are up in the air, and she can't move. She only gets down for half an hour out of 24 hours. So that was very, very frustrating. So this is the same time now as it happened the last time. So we're just hoping that she's going to come back with cast on, because if she doesn't, she'll have to go into traction for longer. And like, we live in Donegal, and you have to stay in the hospital when they're in traction. You can't go. So today is going to tell the tale, really, if the cast is working.
Meanwhile, in accident and emergency, Scott and his mum have arrived following a footballing accident the previous evening.
Just on the waiting list now, waiting to go in. He was very good, he actually didn't have a lot to say at all now. I came in there last night and I was going to give him some pain relief and he didn't want that, and so I just got everything prepared this morning.
When I was playing football, I kicked the ground. I just went in and toned me back.
There's lots and lots of injuries. Scars all over his head now. I think they're doing well up here. We're always up here.
Scott is sent to X-ray, where his foot is examined to determine the extent of his injury.
Scott stubbed his toe when he was kicking a ball. And again, we do this quite often. When he came in, though, his toe was very bruised and was swollen. The object of the investigation is to find out whether or not he has a fracture of the toe. Fractures can be very, very painful, and you know yourself, even a soft tissue trauma, so anything just like a little bang causing maybe a bruise to your hand or your wrist can be painful enough, and these can be without fractures. So anything soft tissue can be very, very sore already.
A few days later, in the St. Gabriel's ward, although lively and full of energy, Anthony faces a challenging day. Today, Miss Rowley will check Anthony's airway and tracheotomy, and her findings will help Mum know when he can finally go home.
He has a lot of chest problems. He's just developed that over the last couple of months, and he had to come in and have the trachea because he had stopped breathing a few times and gets quite cyanose, goes blue, and had very bad sleep apnea as well. Some days you can see he's working hard, like he'd be breathing very fast and he wouldn't need a nippy then. So we don't know at the moment, like, you know, maybe when he is sick he probably needs it. Like every 3 weeks he's been getting a really bad infection. He'd be okay for a while, he'd get over it, run around for a week, and then bang, infection again.
No, leave it
This
on.
has been a good spell now, so hopefully he keeps going the right direction. Sometimes he goes 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, but he's been really good now the last few days, so I'm hoping now this is it. I hope I get good news today, yeah, that he can be decannulated, go home. His talk was going home. We were waiting on a home care package, but we'll know, as I said, we'll know today now how long more. He may only need a home care package for a couple of months. I don't know how long more they're going to leave it there. It's all down to Miss Rowley today now, what she has to say about the airways.
We leave your nosy on.
I was involved when he was about 2 because I was asked to try and see if taking out his tonsils and adenoids would help his breathing, and helped a little bit. It didn't really sort out all of his problems. I mean, Anthony's a very complicated little boy. And then the medical team asked me to consider whether putting in a tracheostomy, an opening in the neck, might actually bypass some of the problems with his airway. It came up again in the context of Anthony having some work done on his jaw to try and widen his airway, and that would always require an opening in the trachea, temporarily at least. Because of that, we arranged for Anthony to have a tracheostomy, which I did now several months ago. I suppose one of Mum's big concerns about Anthony was that he wouldn't be able to talk with the tracheostomy, and as you can see, he talked for Ireland.
Back again. Yeah, I'm okay. Used to it now. Speak a lot more on the side.
She's inside and she'll talk to you.
Yeah.
What have you done? He's only missing. You're only missing. Come on, you goose.
Okay. You're missing. He only went before he came over. Yeah, see?
That should be sure, isn't it, Anthony?
The procedure is an assessment of his airway, because at least half of children who have a tracheostomy can form some granulation tissue above the tube. When we're trying to make a plan to downsize and eventually remove the tube, then we want to make sure that there's not going to be any granulation tissue or anything like that obstructing the airway.
Just going to take him off, you okay? Yeah. Thank you very much, and he won't be too long, okay?
Should go off and have a cup of tea.
Super. Thanks, Mum.
Let's go. All right, man. Thanks.
Toddler Know-How, SMAnutrition.ie, sponsors Temple Street Children's Hospital.
Well, taking